So this is different because somebody's listening to me here today. May give a little bit of feedback. I doubt it. Facial expressions, maybe, but okay. So I wanted to. When I talked to you at the beginning, I was saying that I'd put together two disparate things. Maybe I'll just go through that first, and then the connection to something else will come to me. Oh, I know what it was. To the concept of white people being uniquely evil. That seems to be sort of the assumption, because they only look at the evil things that we do. Um, I'm going to start at the end, actually. So, where I was going to take it was to say that I'd watched the British television show the other day, and someone was making the point that white people keep apologizing for everything, and nobody even knows hardly what efforts the British went to end slavery, and neither do they know that the Barbary pirates took a lot of white slaves, quite often sex slaves, and I think that it was almost concurrent with Atlantic slave trade as well. So we all know about the Atlantic slave trade. Did you know that white people were being taken as sex slaves by North Africans? I don't think that those two periods overlapped for very long, but they did overlap a bit. That's an example. Okay, so this brings us back to where we were, I guess, if I can remember what I was talking about. What was I talking about? Do you remember? Oh, that.
Your pen.
Okay, no, I
Yes.
know. So there was a conversation between Jordan Peterson and a psychiatrist, and the psychiatrist, I think, had actually written a book about something that's really been neglected so far. It's hardly ever brought up. Is the kind of trauma that's being inflicted on the parents of these children that this is happening to. Like, just to put it in very simple terms, right? What they've done is more or less behind your back convinced your child that, like, say, let's talk about a female first, is the other sex, and this quite often happens in adolescence. It's never happened before. Now there's just tons of women getting their breasts taken off, right? It's a big deal. It's a big insult to womanhood, and it's an abuse of females. Why wouldn't feminists be up in arms about it? In fact, I think they are. In truth, I think that they are starting to raise a stink about it. Anyway, and yeah, so she's a psychiatrist, and she talks about the groups that she attends in Britain, and because everybody's afraid to talk about this, because they could lose their job, or there's all kinds of things that could happen to a parent if they spoke about this out loud. So just imagine this gruesome situation that they're in. Not only have they been violated, and by what should be trusted institutions, the school, the medical system, and the legal system should have protected them from this, because they're suffering a lot. This is a major trauma for a lot of parents. To see your daughter come back and she's been taking testosterone, she's growing a beard, and somebody has cut her breasts off. That you don't fix that. That is not fixable. Once you've done that, you've done that, and that's the simple part of transgender surgery. The breasts are well. The other stuff is more complicated. The breast, though, is like it's sort of a symbol of womanhood, and they're cutting it off. Right? I don't know. That's what really gets to me. I try not to think about the other stuff. And so in our conversation, what I'd done is I'd compared that to the feeling that the parents of children might have felt when, in more, I'll go ahead and use the word primitive times, because in primitive times people were really interested in magic and witches and spirits and all this kind of thing, right? And so, how did it feel for the parents of children who were murdered because somebody had, for example, gotten sick? Because the people are so human-centered that they can't imagine that things don't happen for some reason related to their needs or misdeeds or anything like that, right? There's been human sacrifice and all of that kind of thing, and all sorts of civilizations in the past. And I thought, well, at least it's not as bad as that. But then I thought, well, in a sense, it actually is, because if they just killed your child, the child didn't agree to it. You like to think that you have some. You want to think that you have had some positive influence on your child's mind, and that you know it, and that it wouldn't do something as insane as have its breasts cut off and go on hormone blockers and testosterone. Maybe 5% that's a good option. The other 95%, they're afraid to talk about why it didn't work out. So when you have people afraid to talk, something is really wrong. And that tied in with the idea of white people being uniquely evil. I don't know if I said that here or not, but the assumption seems to be that white people are uniquely evil, and that's why it's constant harping on our misdeeds, right? Maybe I said this already. But like on Great Britain News, I think it was a little while ago, or maybe it was Piers Morgan. They're talking about this is with Douglas Murray, and they're talking about making apologies, and Douglas Murray is saying this was settled a long time ago. It just was. It was settled a long time ago. A million apologies have been made. We're getting sick of apologizing. At some point, you have to. It's a weird thing, because what white people did was really bad, and now you're going to say, yeah, we're done apologizing for it now. That's not something that victimizers should do. Is call an end to the need for apologies, probably, right? But at some point, that's where you are. Just forget it. That's how we should act. Just forget it. You're trying to break us down. The focus on white people always is racist anyway. Yeah, but she's saying, that woman was saying, it's nice to apologize. Yeah, it is nice to apologize. So how about this? Perhaps what you could do is you could apologize for the fact that interracial rape between blacks and whites is 100% black on white. That's women getting raped. And that pattern has continued to this day. So, really, make an apology for that, and then we'll maybe reconsider looking at the other stuff for the 1000th time. Seriously, I mean, the racism was more, like in the slave trade, was more institutionalized, right? It's coming from the government, and this rape statistic isn't. But who cares? It's people mistreating others, isn't it? The rate is 100%. And the people that I was talking about who would kill a child because they thought it was a witch and was making people sick were Aboriginal people of northern BC and the Yukon. And that was a fairly standard practice, and probably had been for who knows thousands of years. What they would usually do is they would, all kinds of things happened, but they would just strip them naked and expose them to the elements and let them starve to death. But other forms of torture as well. I think the last person to come out and talk about it, his ear had been ripped and burned off, but he escaped, and he told his story. Wouldn't you think with all this attention to Aboriginal culture and everything, you might stop and think, well, There was some pretty evil stuff that went on there too. I mean, Time Among the Headhunters was filmed in British Columbia, and that was about how the Aboriginal people that lived in southern BC were headhunters. Right? I don't think that there was cannibalism, but there was headhunting, and the Haida came down and took the. I would have guessed maybe the Salish and etc. But the Haida were really great at coming and picking up slaves. So British people, because that's who originally settled Western Canada, put an end to that slave trade, and they also put an end to the practice of to killing children because you thought that they were witches and making people sick. Like and so I say this and I go, what this is going to do is it's going to cause people to hate Aboriginal people, right? And by some dumb people, they could actually think of it that way. But in reality, that kind of behavior has been common throughout human history. And the British can't say that they're totally innocent either. But what they can say is that the idea that this sort of thing was appropriate and should continue, and I would argue both, child sacrifices and slavery, they were in a way the ones that ended it, and yet still criticized constantly. So I hope that wasn't too rough, but it needs to be said.